Hell is a place of suffering and despair, but it has always stirred a great allure in mankind. No work has had as much influence on the consolidation of the image of hell in the popular imagination as Dante Alighieri's The Divine Comedy. Dante's journey through hell started when he is in a dark forest, beset by beasts. Dante met the spirit of Virgil, the most virtuous of the Roman poets, who guided him on his journey through the 9 circles of hell. The entrance to hell was wide, without doors or obstacles. A large inscription reads, "Abandon hope, all ye who enter here." Hell had a unique geography, like a large, funnel-shaped crater. This crater was said to have been created by the impact of Lucifer's fall from heaven. To reach the bottom of hell, one had to pass through several levels, known as the circles of hell. The deeper the position of the soul, the worse its punishment. Before entering the first circle, there was the antechamber of evil, known as the vestibule of hell. That is where the indecisive and the cowardly, who preferred not to take a stand, were. They would not go to heaven or hell, but spent their days tormented by wasps, with the flesh of their feet devoured by worms. Further on, a crowd was crowding on the banks of the river Acheron, waiting for the boatman Charon to make the crossing. He shouted, "Wrecked souls, I have come for you for eternal punishment." After crossing the river, the souls were taken to Minos, the hellish judge, who assigned the sentence for the sinner's soul and set the circle to which he should be taken. Using his serpent's tail, Minos would wrap around the condemned man. The number of turns of the tail indicated the circle. The first circle was known as Limbo, the site of the unbaptized souls, and also of virtuous pagans such as Homer, Plato, Caesar, and Horace, among others. There was no suffering or cries of pain, only sighs of hopelessness for not having been enlightened by the Creator and deprived of the vision of God. The second circle was reserved for the lewd and lustful, known as the Valley of the Winds. In it resided figures such as Cleopatra, Paris, among others. Just as in life, these souls let their passions take over. In hell, they were dragged by strong and incessant winds, beaten and thrown by the whirlwinds. Not a few souls were lost in the pursuit of love and pleasure, leaving reason aside. In the third circle, there was an intense and freezing rain, filthy and eternal. A huge beast stood out in this place. Cerberus, the gigantic 3-headed dog that barked incessantly through its 3 throats. This circle was reserved for those who abused the sin of gluttony. Gluttons were stuck in the mud, created by their own vomit as they were bitten, scratched and torn by the infernal beast. The fourth circle was reserved for the prodigal and the avaricious, the wasteful and the greedy. They were afflicted in different ways by the sin of greed. They spent eternity shoving big bars of money in each other's direction, exchanging insults due to their opposite natures. While some shouted, "Why do you keep it?" the others replied, "Why do you waste it?" In the fifth circle, a great waterfall of boiling blood was supplying the river's Styx. In the waters of the river were the angry and choleric people, trying to give vent to their endless rage and attacking each other. At the bottom of the river were the spiteful ones, who tried to scream, but only their bubbles reached the surface. The city of Dis divided the Inferno. Here, the three Erinyes, also known as the Furies, and the fallen angels protected the Great Gate. Dis was the mark that separated the culpable sins, without intent to offend, from the malicious sins, committed knowingly and intentionally. The next and terrible circle was the fire cemetery of heretics. Inside open tombs were those who disbelieved in God's existence or rejected his teachings, taking others with them away from the grace of the Lord. They burned in the devouring flames inside their tombs. Then there was the Phlegeton Valley, the seventh circle, divided into three. In the first part, near the ruins of Crete, it was possible to see the terrible Minotaur, a creature half man and half bull. At the bottom of the valley, inside a river of blood, were the punished for having committed violent crimes. On the banks of the river, centaurs used their bows to shoot arrows at the criminals. The worse his crime, the more submerged the sinner had to be. Otherwise, he would be punished by the centaurs. The next valley was reserved for the suicides, those who had attempted against their own life. These people were turned into twisted trees, creating a sinister and terrifying forest. From their branches, no fruit grew, but only poisonous thorns. On their branches, the dark harpies made their nests and devoured the leaves, causing them intense pain. The endless wailing could be heard everywhere. Closing this circle was the Valley of the Abominable Sands, where sinners were placed in a desert of hot sand under a rain of fire. There, those who had been violent against God, such as blasphemers, were left lying in the burning sand. The sodomites forced to run through the desert without stopping, and the usurers forced to sit on the flames. The eighth circle was reserved for fraudsters of different kinds. This circle was known as the Malbolgia and was divided into 10 pits. In the first were the seducers and deviants who deceived their neighbors to achieve their aspirations. These were harried day and night by horned demons. In the next pit were the flatterers and sycophants, sunk in dung and feces. People who spent their lives deceiving others with flattering words would spend eternity immersed in their own excrement. In the third pit were the practitioners of simony, buried upside down. Only their legs were visible, being baked by candles. They had committed the crime of selling salvation, positions in the clergy, or false relics. In the fourth pit were the seers, who pretended to know the future, something that only God could do. They had their heads turned upside down, and the tears of despair moistened their own buttocks. In the fifth pit, the corrupt were boiled in a lake of boiling tar, and when they tried to reach the surface, they were attacked by demons who forced them to submerge. The hypocrites were in the sixth pit. Although they were wearing beautiful cloaks, they were heavy as lead. Keeping up their good looks was a real ordeal. In this pit, nailed to the ground, was the body of Caiaphas, the priest who advised the Pharisees to crucify Jesus. In the seventh pit, the thieves were attacked by serpents, which stole their human features. In the next pit were the evil counselors, burning with fire for having led others into fraud and corruption. The sowers of discord were stabbed by demons in the ninth pit, reserved for those who divided families, fueled social conflict, and ended unity in the church. Finally, in the last pit were the counterfeiters, covered by all diseases and pestilences. Because they had forged, lied, and simulated, they suffered various diseases according to their crime. In the ninth and last circle of hell was Lake Cocytus, known as the Lake of Lamentations. Contrary to what we might imagine, the deepest place in hell is not the hottest, but the most frozen, due to the flapping of Lucifer's wings. Inside the waters of a frozen lake, only part of the torso and heads of the traitors were visible. These sinners saw their tears freeze as they wept in despair. The traitors were divided into 4 classes: those who betrayed their families, those who betrayed their homeland, those who disregarded hospitality, and those who betrayed their masters. In the center of the ninth circle resided Lucifer, the greatest of all traitors, the one who betrayed God. Also trapped in the ice and devouring the 3 greatest traitors in history: Judas, Brutus, and Cassius. At the bottom of the last circle, Dante and Virgil found the access that would lead them to purgatory. But this subject is for another episode.